All right, guys, before we get into this episode, we have a big announcement. We have chosen our top 3 finalists for our contest with 4 successful living in Diesel. These 3 contestants will be moving on to the final round and will receive a mystery box from Diesel filled with product. They will be challenged to use that gear in their final lifestyle video to compete for the $2,000 gift card to bnhphotovideo.com. We are super proud of all of our submissions. It was really hard to narrow down the top submissions. You guys really brought the heat, so it was pretty fucking difficult. But without further ado, we're proud to announce our 3 finalists, and they are, drum roll. Okay, I'll do it myself. I'm reading their Instagram names. Magna Chris, Matteo Welsh, It's Me Gustava. So you guys are the 3 winners that will be moving on to round 2. We will reach out to you and get a hold of you and set you up. Congratulations, you guys killed it. Thank you guys again for competing in this contest. I'm proud of all of you for getting out there and creating. More to come in 2020, but let's see who wins the gift card on this one. I'm excited. All right, let's get to the episode. And we are back with another morning roast edition of the Black with No Cream podcast, where every Wednesday morning we deep dive into creative topics with the goal of giving you some motivation and inspiration. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, aka Ben Real vs. World. This is my co-host, David Malave. What up, Dave?
What's happening? Today's topic, guys, is the art of picking selects.
Yeah, and you're probably...
So, Ben, what is a select, man?
What is a select? What is a select?
Tell the people what a select is.
Yeah, so if you don't know what a select is, like my mom who listens to the show every single day, a select may be, say, here's an example. If you're a photographer and you go do a shoot and you shoot 150 photos, those aren't all gonna be great photos. So when you go to the editing process, you're going to pick your selects. You're selecting your favorite photos from the shoot. So you might narrow it down to like a total of 15 photos instead of 150 because those are your bangers. So that is what a select is, and that's why we're calling it the art of picking selects, because there is an art to picking selects. It's not easy. And we came up with this conclusion because we saw in our private Facebook group, one of our Black with No Cream members had actually made a post, Dan Griffith's pronunciation on 10 right
on
there.
On 10 right there, let me tell you.
Thank you very much. Who's actually, it says he's a conversation starter on there. That means he posts a lot. That's dope.
Shout out to Dan. What's up, Dan?
Shout out to Dan. He said, building a portfolio. I can't be the only person here who struggles majorly, Jesus, can't talk today. Struggles majorly when it comes to selecting the best photos for a portfolio. Being a perfectionist, after going through my galleries, I always end up with way too many photos left in my selects, and it takes me forever to really cut them down. I always get stuck in thinking I don't want to leave that one out, or that one, and so on. I wonder whether anybody has had any tips or advice on how to select the best photos from the bunch. How you can be more brutal when it comes to selections. Would love to hear how everybody else goes about doing this. I think it is a brutal process, and there's a couple tips that we have about how we like to go about doing this. So we're going to get into that pretty soon. But if this is your first time tuning to the podcast, that means that you are probably wondering,
what the fuck is Black with No Cream?
Great question. Black with No Cream is the illest educational resource for content creators fueled by caffeine. Or at least I take my coffee black with no cream, but you can drink or not drink whatever caffeine you fuck with and still be a part of our community. We have thousands of members from all around the world working together by sharing content, asking for feedback, passing tips and tricks along to one another with the goal of pushing each other to become the best motherfucking content creators on earth. And you can join our private group if you want to by going to bwnc.com/join. We would love to fucking have you. Please join. And without further ado, I bring to you this morning roast episode in the second most epic podcast intro ever created right motherfucking now. Welcome to the morning roast, a place where you will get the most info from a deep dive into the topics that really need life with your host Ben and Dave, coming to you live today. Grab your cup of joe and take some fucking notes, you bitch. Yo ho 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 ho. Guess what? Santa's coming, and so is Black with No Cream with some heat for those holiday special episodes. Dave, what do we have in store coming up soon?
We're gonna do a little festive morning roast celebration of Christmas next Wednesday. So I know all you guys are gonna be hanging with your family, opening some presents, hang out by the tree. But don't forget about your boys, because we're going to be here. You can catch us with some Santa hats on, potentially drinking some alcoholic Christmas beverages, answering y'all's questions.
Yeah, we're gonna field some questions before we record it. Maybe even take phone calls. To be continued.
We're gonna make it a fun time.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. So definitely tune into that episode and the New Year's Eve episode. We're gonna be highlighting some bangers from 2019. So
yeah, we're gonna pick out like some of the best lessons that we think we learned from the podcast all year, and wrap those up and get ready to freaking turn up 2020. You heard me?
Obviously, Black with No Cream's growing because never in my life have we ever prepared anything for the podcast. It's usually like, let's just do it right now and put it out and then move on. And now we're thinking 2 or 3 weeks in advance. So that's pretty dope.
Hey, thanks. Shout out to us.
Yeah, that's called tent pole dates. Sick. All right. So anyway, let's get to today's topic. I loved, and thank you, Dan, for making that post. I know he's gotten a couple comments already with people discussing a little bit in depth of how they deal with kind of eliminating a lot of their content to find and pick the best pieces of media. Like for instance, when you're building your website, it's hard to decide what content you want to display on your website because this is the best content that represents you as a creative. So for example, if you're a photographer and you're trying to pick your top, 30 images that best explain what you're capable of doing, what kind of content you can create, what projects you like to work on, what moods you like to create, all that comes into play. So it's very difficult to pick this out, and a lot of the times you'll see websites with people that just have shit tons of media all over the place because they're afraid to like limit it. But sometimes depending on who your clients are or who you're trying to attract with your work, simplicity is key. Finding a way to narrow it down to like making it more about, this is what I do. This is what I'm really, really good at. Some of us like to show that we're really good at a lot of things. So maybe you have to think outside the box. I know we've talked about it in past episodes where we're like, oh, maybe you create, if maybe your whole vibe is doing landscape photography, but your clients are around food. Most of the clients that come to you aren't going to want to see a bunch of trees and valleys and sunsets and shit. They're going to want to see what your food photography looks like. Otherwise, they probably won't hire you. So you have to be, very conscious of how you're placing your content, understanding who's going to be looking at that, and then go from there. But even as simple as shooting some stuff and posting on Instagram, it can be hard because you have a carousel you're able to post 10 posts within one post. And sometimes people upload 10 of the same photo because they don't know how to pick just one out of those 10 images that look fire. And that, I think, is kind of problematic.
Yeah, I feel like it really comes down to like training your eye, I feel like, because, the way I look at it, for me, it's just like, for me personally, it's like, you may go to, if you're shooting anything, any shoot, right? You come out of that shoot and you may have like, an album of images that you're delivering or that you care, but like if you're really being honest, like there's probably like 1 to 2 photos that really stand out to you, like this is an amazing photo, right? And it's about understanding like what's the difference between a photo that's just any other photo and a photo that it really stands out and shows like this is like what I'm capable of, right? And when creating a portfolio, you want more of those, like the standout images, and less of just, oh, this photo has freaking whoever,
right?
And that's, I'm gonna throw it in there because it shows I shoot this. Like, and we even did it in our live stream one time. Some guy had us just to review his site, and we were like, he maybe had 50 images on there, and we were like, I think that you should cut this down to your best 20, because I would rather have, and if I'm talking about a portfolio site, but anything else, I would rather deliver to an artist 10 amazing photos than 25 photos where like 10 of them are okay and 5 of them are like, maybe that's out of focus, maybe like something's off, the composition is slightly off, or it's underexposed. You know what I mean?
Well, it's overstimulating. So if you have to, when you're creating, you have to think of the person that, I don't want to just say client, because a lot of us don't care if it's some stuff you're making just for fans or for your own personal needs or for specific reasons. You're creating it for someone, right? You don't want to overwhelm them with a bunch of shit. And a lot of the time I feel like people feel, I remember when I was looking for someone to shoot in New York, like a BTS person I wanted to hire in New York. And so everyone was submitting their reels. And I remember one reel, it had it was tons and tons of radio footage that they worked into their reel. And I know why they did it, because it's like, hey, look, I've shot all these famous people, which is awesome. Like, yeah, you got to shoot all these famous people that were on radio shows, and this must have been one of the cameramen that were shooting the interviews or something. And they made that part of their highlight reel. But it was a bunch of just stagnant, very low level shots, because it's just interview footage. There's only so much you can do with it, unless it's like interviews from a documentary. It's not that appealing to someone that's looking for someone that can document content outside of just like you film someone in a room. And when it was 3/4 of the video was all of these shots, it was like, hey, look at all this star power, all this people, like the clout of it. But that's not what's attractive. Some people get confused and they think that they need to put, like, just because you shot, you were in a nightclub and you got a cool photo of fucking 2 Chainz, or a photo, I'm not even gonna say cool photo, a photo of 2 Chainz. It may be trash. It may be that you had to boost the ISO all the way up and it's grainy as fuck, and the colors are trash, and honestly his face, his lips droopy or some shit, and he doesn't even look good, but you're posting it solely because you're like, I was by 2 Chainz, and you want everyone to know that you're around someone cool. That shit can hurt you. You know what I mean? You're over complicating the system, because it's no longer about the art, it's about the clout of who you're around. And that shit, no one really cares. The people who really are going to hire you, or the people that really are going to understand your talents as a creative, that's not what we're looking at. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what a client's looking for. Yeah, if you're around that person and you're starting to get really iconic photos with that person, that's different. If they open up to you and allow you to take like vulnerable photos of them, it's completely different. But if you're just like snapping off shots, or I shot a show, I shoot shows, and you're always in the pit, or you're always from the crowd, and it's always the same shot from far away, and I don't even know who the fuck is on stage, but to you it's like, well, that's Steve Aoki, or that's whoever, you know what I mean? Guns N' Roses. It's like, yeah, but if we can't really, it's not really artistic. You know
I think I really think that the selection is more important, if not more important than the shooting itself, right? Because you shoot a million images, right? But I could hand you an album, and I could hand me an album, and we might create color different photos from it, right? And like, depending on your eye and my eye, we'll come out with different stuff. And like, you're saying if I edited a photo, rack of photos, and you had the same photos, we had the same photos, we would come out with different things, because you might like X and I might like Y. I might crop it different. You might add this. You might decide to go black and white. I might decide to go color. You know what I mean? And that's part of the art of it. But it's like, that selection process is so important, because especially if you're shooting artists, but any client, anything that you have a subject, like the difference between a bad photo, like just an okay photo, and a great photo is like, your composition is like 2 inches off, or their hand is like a man's hand is like, looks strong, as opposed to them looking like their wrist is out. Yeah, you know what I mean? Where like limp, or like a girl, her neck is down, and as opposed to her looking up, or the mic being straight in front of their face and it being down. Like, there's so many different things, right? And that is difference. That's the process of selection. The shooting has been done, right? Right. You have 500 photos. Now, the selection process determines what type of image you're showing to your, like, on your portfolio, you're showing on your Instagram or whatever, right? And like, like I said earlier, like, training your eye is super key, because if you're putting 50 photos on your portfolio, you're showing them a range of your skill, right? So if there's photos in there, if there's amazing photos in there, and there's also photos that are your message that you're sending to like whoever's looking at your Instagram or your portfolio or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, like, these are dope, but these are kind of right?
And also a range of opportunity that you've been a part of. Right. Like, if a majority of your work is from one event, so you got to shoot one show, cool. So you got 5 good photos, cool. But how come you haven't been allowed to shoot other shows? Like, or how come you've only shot one model, but you're saying you're a model photographer? You know what I mean? You need to show a range and quality across the board, like, to show that you've really been committing to it. You've really put in the time and effort, right? Like,
yeah, I want to put a caveat to that, though, because I feel like that kind of lends people to just, let me throw 2 Chainz in there because I shot him one time and I only have a couple shows in this. Or we always talk about music, but let's say someone else, like, I have one really great portrait shoot, but I'm gonna throw a couple of these that aren't amazing, because I want to show variety, right? But sometimes if you're just starting out, like, I remember when I started my website and I had only done a couple because I just started. Yeah, it's like, cool, that's what it is right now. Yeah, and then next time I get more, I'm gonna add my best ones from that, and it's a collaborative process that keeps going, and you have to keep working. So it's like your portfolio is always evolving. You know,
but that's not what I was saying. I was saying that is what I'm getting at, is that you want to continue to evolve, but you also want to showcase the ability that you've done several things, right? Because if I go to your page and I only see one show and it's cool content, but it's one show, I can maybe sniff out you're new.
Right.
You have little to no experience because you have not had access, and you're not showing me that you've had access to other things. Access means you've been taken serious, you're trustworthy. There's a lot of things with
that you're working. People want to see you're working.
Yeah, if you're working and you're being continued to be booked and hired or whatever it is, or you have access to shit,
there's validation in that.
Yes, it's absolutely, you're co-signed. You know what I mean? So that's what I was getting at that. But yeah, totally. So say you start off, say you're brand new and you're trying to figure out how you can identify or showcase that you're talented, right? You don't just need to showcase the jobs that you've gotten paid to do, right? You can go out and create content on your own. Will Morgan Cooper's interview be out by this point, or is that coming out this Sunday?
It'll be out
next week.
Coming up.
All right. So
actually, no, excuse me. Yes, it'll be coming up this Sunday.
By the time you're listening to this right now, this upcoming Sunday, we are releasing an interview with Morgan Cooper, an amazing director, DP director, and he talked about. Damn, I just lost my train of thought.
Here's what he said. This is one of my favorite quotes.
But do you know where I was going with this?
Yeah, okay, I know where he's going for it. So he said, so he always he made his career. You'll hear it's such an amazing story off spec work. So he was a commercial DP, right? And he's working consistently and being successful, creating paid work, right? But the work that really took him to his next level and really showed agencies, clients, studios that he could create films, because he wasn't being hired to shoot films, but he wanted to be hired to shoot films, so he made a film. And the thing about that is, he said, is like you have to invest in your portfolio. If you have a great portfolio, you can make money forever. So like he always cared about creating things to show his skills and his capabilities and the things that he was passionate about.
Exactly.
Because he knew that investing in that would provide him opportunities in the future. So what Ben was saying is the same thing as, like, if you want to be hired for something and you don't have work to show it, create work that shows that you can shoot that type of stuff.
In this instance, Morgan created out of his own investment, he invested $20,000 to make his spec idea, which ended up becoming a super viral sensation. It was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remake mock trailer, basically, of what it would be like in today's society. I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't, go look it up. But he made that out of his own will to create an interest in creating, and that to him was spec work. I'm not saying you have to spend 20 racks on an idea, but when it comes to that, he did it, and then that ultimately led him to get signed.
Right, and also again, to bring it back to the Select's type topic, I think there's probably 1 million projects that he shot himself that he doesn't put on his Vimeo, that he doesn't put on his site, right? Because he's very particular about what am I showing to people that is going to represent what they think of me as an artist, right? I've shot event recaps. I've shot behind the scenes for stuff that I'm not going to post on my Instagram, and I'm not going to put on my website, because I don't want that. That doesn't need to be a representation of what I want to do or what I can do.
It's also what you're trying to
get hired for.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. So if you put a bunch of fucking wedding videos on your thing, you're probably gonna get hired for wedding videos.
We talk about this in Instagram as your resume and all
absolutely.
Stuff.
But that I think is awesome. And when you talk about the idea of like, I'm not uploading some of those projects, that goes into like the next point that we wanted to make, which when we were doing Chris's doc, and I'm sure I've said it on the podcast before, we were doing Chris Brown's doc. We brought in our homie Joey McFarlane, who produced Wolf of Wall Street, and he sat down and watched the film, which I thought was crazy that he was in the room and shit, and that they knew him and all this stuff. And I was like, damn, he's such a, that movie's so fucking sick. And anyway, we sit down, he watches the film, and it was probably, we had finished like the whole cut, and it was probably like an hour 20 minutes or an hour and 40 minutes or something. I can't remember what the total runtime was, but he watches it, loved it, and then his first note was remove all this stuff. He's like, just get rid of that. You don't even need that whole section. Get rid of this interview. You don't need that. And he started just cutting it down. And we're like, yo, what the fuck? And it started trimming. And he's like, you got to kill babies. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Sounds morbid as shit. And he's like, you got to kill, this is your baby. You have to, like, every single section of this film is your baby, but you have to let those go, and you're gonna have to kill some of those babies to make the best product possible. The whole saying doesn't really make sense. I called Andrew about it.
Let me explain it. So the reason why it's kill babies is because there's things in your portfolio, there's videos you make, there's photos that you shot, that you've edited or whatever, that you have in your portfolio, on your Instagram, whatever it is. and we're all super emotionally attached to our work, right? Because we've shot it. That moment means something to us. We spent so much time on it, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to be like, I'm gonna take it off my site. I'm gonna take that off my profile. No, that shot's not gonna go in the video. Even if I love this shot, it's slightly out of focus, so I can't put it in the video. That's happened a ton of times, hasn't it? Or you shot something and it's like, this photo's amazing, but there's a hand that's in the way. Or there's, you know what I mean? And the killing babies is the idea of like, there's things that you're attached to, but if it doesn't, if it's not going to make the final product, better, literally ditch the title of the thing.
I know.
And listen to what I'm trying to say.
I hear. We all understand it. This is our baby. You don't want to get rid of it, but sometimes you have to make it better. No matter what, when I still think about it, I'm like, there's got to be a better saying for this shit, because I don't know why you used it, but when you think about it, it's like, you still can't make it make sense. Like, even though, I do need to kill babies to make it better, do I need to get rid of my babies to make it better?
Yeah, I mean, you're being so literal right now.
I know I am. But overall, and he was fucking right. Okay, so we started eliminating some of these chunks in the film. And this is the best part about my takeaway from this, and this is what I hope happens to you, is I hated that he told us that. He told me some of my favorite parts of that film had to go because it was too long, or it was too fluffy, or it felt like a filler, or whatever the reason was. Get rid of this, try it, just try it. And I was like, dude, why the fuck? He makes Wolf of Wall Street, and you come in here and tell us that.
Yeah, I've spent 10 days on this.
I spent fucking 10 months. And so we cut those parts out. And this is my favorite part, is that now, since then, I do not remember what we removed. It was so good in the moment, but after cutting it, the film got even better, and I do not remember what was there before we removed it. I cannot, unless I open up the project and go back 50,000 sequences before, I have no idea what was there that I was so obsessed with. But no matter what, the product still ended up becoming a product. It's the same. It still had the same objective, and it ran smoother. And so that suggestion helped a lot. And when it comes to like creating content on multiple different levels, whether it's as simple as just uploading 5 photos from a shoot into your Instagram, or if it's a documentary, or if it's a music video, or you're shooting shows, whatever it is, sometimes you get rid of some of the illest shit that you think is the illest shit. And you hate getting rid of it, or a client asks you to get rid of it, and it sucks to do it. But at the end of the day, the content overall that you have is still going to stand out, and the idea of getting rid of certain things is going to help elevate the pieces that you leave in. So instead of having 5 and you show 2, those 2 pieces have to be the illest pieces possible. We just went to Schoolboy Q's show. I have like 15 clips that I could easily post on my shit, but I multi-purpose those clips. There's clips that are great that I gave to certain people, and then those people can share that on their shit. It might not work on my thing. I had to pick what were my favorite 1 or 2 things so I don't bore my audience with a bunch of the same shots from the same show. Even though I have tons and tons of content, there's so much more shit that exists there, but you can use that for other stuff. We're going to use it for a recap video that Slim will have, and I can use it for fucking later purposes if I want to share more shit later. But like, I don't want to sit here and just flood my feed with a bunch of clips that are like from the same exact show. You know what I mean? Like, how do I eliminate certain things just to highlight the best shit? And then those clips are going to be something that people are like, wow, this shit's fucking amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Holy fucking shit, this is crazy.
It's about that, like, and that's also like, there's also a ton of clips that someone might think are really tight that you didn't export because you're like, nah, this isn't at this level.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level that, you know what I mean? And that's part of training your eyes. Like, there's a bunch of clips that you have that are dope probably, but you're like, those aren't good enough. These are the best ones.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that part of it's like, leaving those out is like, yeah, they're cool, but they're gonna drag down the rest of these.
Right.
You know? Like we said earlier, like I would much rather send 5 amazing photos or clips or videos or whatever, and know that there's a ton of others, and we'll get to this, like, to process this in our third point, then just keep a bunch and then have it be like a mixed bag, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes people may, like, a client may tell you like, hey, send me loads. I want a lot to pick from, and then I can pick through my selects, like go through and kind of clean them all up and do that. Sucks because it's a lot more work for you, but at the same time they may look at it and be like, oh, this is cool. Or you send them a black and white version, a color version, a fucking sepia version.
If you're doing sepia, please stop.
Yeah, you just throw in a bunch of sepia looks, and then they can be like, yeah, I like this one in black and white, I like this one in color, and that's giving that person full control of your look. But also, if you go and just say, this is what you get, like, this is what I do, now you've made sure that your creative is intact.
Facts.
That they only get to pick from your creative.
Right.
And then that's also a way to leverage your work and allow you to kind of stick to your guns as far as like what your creative is.
But you're like, this is what I'm giving to you, and this is what I believe is the best stuff.
Right.
You know, and then they may come back, and you'd go back into your selects, and you're like, all right, I'll send them like maybe these couple if they want more.
Yeah.
But usually it's like what I would try to go for is like what I'm putting up and what I'm sending is like absolutely the best stuff. If it's not meeting that standard I have, then I'm leaving it because I want the entire package to be amazing. You know what I mean? And then like they don't even know what existed because you haven't sent it to them.
Yeah,
you know
and I think something else that's like funny, like when we were on tour, would be like the process of us creating these micro clips from tour. We would literally get done with the show, start going through all of our selects, pulling all of our favorite shit, then going back to our favorite shit after we pulled it from all the footage that we got that night, and go through it and try to see if we made the right decision. You know what I mean? You're like, my process was I'd pull a clip and be like, oh, this is a hard little like 3-second moment, lift it up to another line in the sequence, and then move on. And then I come back and I'm like, man, that shit's not as tight because I've seen now that, you know, later into the show I got an iller version of that. Whatever. Pick all those top clips, and then I'd make those into like 15 options, and then we'd show like Quasi and Lauren, be like, yo, what do you think of these? And then they were the ones they're the client, right? So they're the ones making the choice for Beyonce, and they'd be like, yeah, this one's dope, and they look at them, and it was like a game for me and Dave, because they're not gonna pick all the ones that we think are great. And if we've narrowed it down to 15, those are 15 bangers, and then you really want those bangers to go live, and then they might just not be feeling dance moves that day, or a fucking shirt, or they'll be like, nah, we've shown too much of that dress, but it might be the illest version of the dress, and sometimes you're just like, fuck, and you have to let it go. And I think it's hard for people to learn that because you're not used to it, especially as a freelancer, or if you're creating for yourself, to have someone tell you no, or for someone to see something different than you do. But it's not always a bad thing, and that's the art of teamwork. So when pulling selects, like, you have to think that, you know, is this the best thing that's going to represent me? Is this the best thing that my client's going to want?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's
like
all kinds.
It's bigger than you sometimes. Like the selects are bigger than you sometimes.
But also I like the last point that you had.
Yeah. So the last one. This is more about the process of it, because part of what our boy Dan was talking about is like, he says it takes him way too long to cut him down, which I feel it's tough. He goes through his galleries and he takes way too long, and he doesn't know how to really just break it down and get to the final batch, right? And part of that is really just letting go quickly, like being able to just look at it. Is this one of my best? Is this one of the best? No. Like, is this going to drive the entire, if we're talking about portfolio, is this photo going to drive the entire portfolio up? Is it making it better? Is it showing, have I shown this type of photo a million times, this exact same close-up portrait or whatever?
Right.
Have I shown this wide shot a bunch, like this type of shot, right? Is it going to drive the entire picture upwards? If not, is it my best photo? Is it in focus? Is the composition right? All these little things you have to be like, you have to trust your gut. Is this gonna be in the final cut? No, let it go, because the photo's not going anywhere. You still have it. You can still use it. You can still put it up later if you want. But especially if we're talking about situations where you have to turn it around, like we're talking about Q show. It's like I'm sitting there and there's maybe there's 1,000 photos. I'm going through and I'm hitting a 5 on the ones that give me a gut feeling like this photo's tight. Boom, 5. Keep moving. 5, 5, 5. There's a million photos in there that I could probably finesse into something cool. Like, man, like the shot is awesome, but I look at it and I'm like, there's something off. Like, either the artist, like, their position's not correct, or like, you know what I mean?
Or it's just not like an attractive photo.
Yeah, the photo. There's it could
everything. The fire is going off in the background. The fucking lightning striking in the sky and all this shit. But if the artist looks fucking stupid, that shot is a no go,
and it sucks.
But that's the thing too. And when you have to learn to let it go, it's like you know, we all, whatever, burst mode, cool. You're in the moment. You're anticipating the moment, and that does happen. The pyro's going off, the smoke's going off, he or she is jumping in the air, or something crazy is happening on scene, and you've been waiting all day for this shot. You fire off 30 fucking frames, and you're so excited because you know you got the thing. You even saw in the viewfinder shit look cracking during the show. Yeah. And you get back and you realize everything's a little soft, or their facial expression is just not dope.
The fire's super overexposed, or whatever.
Or you hung, like they look like they hung out the window of a car going 90, and you're just like, dude, will they care? Now you're starting to try to like decide
I love this shot.
Yeah, but they'll understand the shot's so cool. No one's gonna look at their face. Yes, everyone's gonna look at their face. Those are automatic snips, and it sucks because you're like, damn, I had it, or it was so close, or if I just had a millisecond more before I fired off, I would have gotten the right. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Those are just those days, or those are those times where you just have to say, fuck it, it's over with. Like, that shot just doesn't work.
On to the next one.
Yeah, I remember even early, like I would lose shots when we were in Europe, and I would get like an ill shot of Jay-Z going like whatever he's doing with pyro and shit, but all you see is because the way the angle was, I realized don't ever shoot that angle again, because the stadium would be set up, and then behind the stage there's those empty seats.
Yeah.
Since it was day, you can see all these empty seats, so then it looks like Jay's got no fans, but the angle doesn't show you
the cutoff stadium part of the show.
Yeah, it's literally no one's allowed to sit there, and so you don't see the 90,000 other people. And I was like, fuck, like that shot just is the illest shot of him. If I could fucking mask him out and put him in front of like a blue sky, it'd be lit. But like I can't, so it is what it is. But yeah, I think like letting go quickly is so important, and you just have to understand that there's more opportunity to create, and you'll have that. It's coming. You just have to fucking keep it moving and pick out your favorite shit and try to just capitalize on those micro moments that you have. You shoot 1,000 photos and you come up with 8.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's it. No one wants to see 1,000 photos from that show.
And even on tour, like legit, I would be happy on tour. We shoot in a 2.5 hour show, right? And we're talking about shows because it's a good example of like having a bunch of things and having to cut it, right? We shot 48 shows. We're shooting a 2.5 hour show. We're shooting 50 gigs of footage every night, right? And I would be happy if I came away with like, we would come away sometimes with like 3, 4, but sometimes just like one really banger moment, like banger clip that we would get to share or whatever, that was like, that represented that city. And like, I was happy with that, because you're not coming away with 1 million, you know what I mean? Like, they all worked. We're exporting 10, 15 a night, and they're awesome. But like, in terms of like the ones that I would select to show people is like one per show. And I think a great example of this is like Andrew Whitey. If you go to his site, he shot all 48 shows, amazing photos of every show, and he cut all 48 to like a really tight edit of like 25, 30 or something. Right. Because he's very finite with what he's choosing to put on his site.
That's probably 50 or 100,000 images that he shot on that whole tour, and he narrowed it down to 50.
Right.
That's crazy.
However much it is, but like to him, it's like this is what I want to represent the entire tour.
Love it.
And imagine how many photos he shot, you know?
That's
so
what I'm saying.
The photos could be amazing. They're up, they serve their purpose, but he let them go and just be like, these are the ones that need to represent me, you know?
Exactly. So again, people, the art of picking selects is not easy. It's a bitch.
It's a fucking bitch. Yo.
It's a motherfucking bitch. If you got fans that'll, want to see all your shots, you're doing something right. But no one wants to sit through.
You know what selects though? You know what
photos.
You know what selects, especially for video.
Could you imagine if the carousel let you do unlimited? Everyone's like, hey guys, check out all this shit.
Check out my 50 things.
But people like used to do that on Facebook all the time. Remember on Facebook, it was like all the girls would make albums that were like living like there's no tomorrow, summer 2001 or whatever, high school.
Yeah, and just a photo of every single thing they've ever done that whole summer.
It's just like fucking the grilled cheese sandwich, and then them like trying to get sun and look like they got the beach bod dialed. And
you know, for me, like the thing that selects, the thing that sucks the most, but you just have to kind of embrace it, especially for video, is like video sometimes, like for a shoot, it sometimes takes me like a full edit day. Like not a full edit day, but like a solid edit day.
For what? Pulling selects?
Yeah, just pulling selects and setting up the project. That takes a full day.
That's like the hardest. That's why people have assistant editors, and like that's the cycling through that content.
It takes so much time, but it's so necessary. And like being that selection process that he's talking about in the post is like trying to bang through that, but at the end of the day, like doing that sets up the project better. It sets up everything you're doing better, because you're like, you have to, like, even when I'm doing photos, like I'm trying to get the selects done so I can, everything that's clouding my vision of like what photos I actually like, I can kick them.
And that's why I always like, anytime I'm hiring someone to edit, it's the job of an editor is to go through everything. Like you need to know everything that exists, whether it's videos or photos. Like you need to know that everything is there, all the opportunities. You go through and pull those selects, like try to identify like all the best moments possible. because it's easier. You just know it's there, and you can go to it later and revisit it or find it. Or if you use something and someone comes in and like, yeah, but do we have a better version of this? Wasn't there one? Weren't you? I saw you there when the fire went off and the lightning was shooting. You're like, yeah, but unfortunately,
The lightning. When is the lightning shooting?
I don't know. I'm just thinking of a dope ass outside show that we'd all would love to shoot.
And then the lightning strikes.
Can you imagine getting a lightning strike and a fucking posse jump by the artist, all three Migos in the air, and the fucking flames at the same time? It's
And
like,
lightning strikes like perfectly in the background.
one of those fucking Taylor Cut Films birds are flying through the sea and shit too. It's just the best photo on earth. All right, as you know, we always end our morning roast with the question of the day from our Patreon community. So if you want to have the chance to have a tough question answered on the podcast, sign up now and join thehomies.com and ask your question in our private Discord channel. The question of the day is from our boy Nick. He said, this goes with the morning roast from the other week, but what's a realistic goal you had for 2019 that you didn't hit? And what are you going to do differently in 2020 to hit that goal? Did you have time to think about this? Do you know anything that you didn't hit that you want to hit next year?
There's a bunch.
He's referring to the episode that we did.
We did an episode of preparing for 2020, talking about like, creating a journal, setting legit goals in a bunch of different aspects of your life.
Right.
I have a bunch I didn't hit, and a lot of that comes down to like, I'm gonna do a better job next year of updating my goals halfway through the year, because there's a lot of goals that I had at the beginning of the year that no longer, like I was no longer going in that path like halfway through the year,
Right.
Like for example, like if I said I wanted to go on another tour at the beginning of the year, but like halfway through the year I realized like, I'm not going to be one of my goals this year. Then that goal is outdated. I feel like random, but one of my goals is I wanted to start investing financially, like create an IRA for myself. Mm-hmm. And I said that was a 2020 goal that I had that I didn't do, but still have time to complete before the end of the year. But that'll definitely be a 2019 goal. 2019 goal.
Right. As we talked about in that episode, I didn't do like a goal list for the year. But what my goal was, and I said it as we were wrapping up touring and shit like that, I was like, I really want to get home and try to be consistent with the podcast, which we did a great job on. I wanted to make more YouTube content outside of the podcast, and we kind of dipped in that, but we didn't do anything that was consistent yet. But now, as we go into 2020, we've rerouted that goal, and we're really focused on like the In the Field series and trying to build that up. We've been shooting a lot so that we can hopefully do like a proper season of that starting out the year. That's like one of the main goals, but also to do a vacation. I said I want to do that in 2019. I didn't do that, and I just booked tickets to go to Hawaii next year. So me and Lauren are gonna go do that shit, which is dope. So I guess that's it. But do any of you guys have any goals that you didn't knock out in 2019 that you're putting on the list for 2020, and how are you going to actually do that shit this year? Like, what are your fit? Like for me, I need to go on vacation. The way I could do that is literally pay for a flight that makes it a pain in the ass to get the money back if I don't go, and just block out dates. And I'm telling every client and anybody I'm not fucking here during that time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's like my action. So I'd be interested to hear in the comments like what you guys are doing to prepare for 2020 and knock out some of those things that you might not have gotten knocked off your list in 2019. But also, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who leaves reviews on the podcast on iTunes. Each review helps us reach new creators. We like to highlight the best reviews each week and send Black Window Cream stickers to those BWNC members who drop those reviews. So if you want a chance to win some free Black Window Cream stickers, you got to drop a review right motherfucking now. Today's review is from 𝐅𝐻𝐋𝐋𝐖. It's a tight ass name. What is that? Like, is that like, if it's on Apple Podcasts, does that mean that's his iTunes?
No, you can pick your name.
Oh, damn.
I don't think you have to put your like real profile or whatever.
It'd be tight if that was his iTunes ID. I got juice. All right, best podcast on the planet. I just want to let the Black Window Cream team that I'm super grateful for the podcast, as well as the Facebook community. The gems from both are incredible, and it's awesome to hear real stories from real people. Thank you for sharing and creating a platform where we can be inspired, educated, as well as share all aspects of the industry. Much love. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Ike, make sure to DM us on Instagram and send us your address so we can send you out some stickers. We're going to be sending out everyone's stickers before the holiday ends. we're a couple weeks behind, so we're gonna package those up and send them out. We appreciate it. All right, that's it for this episode of the Morning Roast. Make sure to check out our latest episode with Schoolboy Q's DJ Mac Wap. That one just dropped, and definitely stay tuned for this Sunday where we are going to be interviewing or drop our interview with Morgan Cooper, the filmmaker. Motherfucker is a beast. This episode is one of our favorites, so definitely make sure to tune into both those. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday. We will see you in a few days. You